Rain, the lifeblood of California. We've had a few good storms here and a few more are on the way. It is Friday, the 2nd of February. It's time for a long overdue Oroville update. We're going to start with this footage from DWR releasing water from the Oroville Reservoir in anticipation of these storms. 2 minutes. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Then we'll get in with the update. Oh, I can hear the howls of protest now. What are they doing releasing water this early out of Oroville Reservoir? Well, this is what Oroville looked like on the 1st of January. Kel and I took the Harvey, the 310, to take a look at it. And at the 1st of January, the water level was already up here, tickling the backside of the gates here at Oroville. As we look at the charts, we'll see that this is the highest low we have seen at Oroville in many years. Show you what I mean. Starting here with Lakes Online, we get the last, 5 years worth of data. This blue line up here is today's data right there. And here is the end of the year. Here's 2023 shown in green. So 2023 ended up with the highest low elevation of 811 feet. So when we took that picture over Oroville and Harvey, the elevation was about 818 feet. Remember, the gates, the bottom of the spillway gates, are about 813 feet. And now the water's been coming up steadily since then. So during this flood control period of January until, all the way until springtime, June and July, they want to gently bring the level of the reservoir up to its full capacity of 900 feet. And they want to do so in a controlled fashion, which means that right about in this time of year, where the heavy rains are coming in, they want to keep the water level about 850 feet. Let's see if we can see that in previous years. So they'll keep this water level here at about 850 feet and then wait until they get further into the season before they allow the water to slowly rise up to 900 feet. And what they're banking on is the snowpack, and that right now is a problem. By the way, today's water level at Oroville is 842 feet. Here in the northern Sierra area, we're tracking just a little bit below average for total precipitation so far this year. Since this is an El Nino year for the California area, that means warmer precipitation, the snowpack is still quite a bit below average. Here we are in the northern Sierra area, showing anywhere from 42 to 67% of average to date. Central Sierra, about 57 max to date, and the southern Sierra, 45% to date. So we need more snow. This is the main source of water for the entire state of California, as when this snow melts, it slowly replenishes all of our reservoirs. And as we look at our major reservoirs across the state here, as of 1 February, we can see that most reservoirs, especially here in the northern state, are at or above historical average capacities to date. Looks like San Luis is the only one below average. Everybody else is at or above average. So back to our Lakes Online map for Lake Oroville. It's because we had these high lows in the reservoir elevations. Because we ended last water season, because of the high amount of rainfall last season, with the highest water levels we've seen in years, it's not going to take a whole lot of extra to top these reservoirs off. But they're gambling a little bit right now with the snowpack. With this lack of snowpack, they got to be careful how much water they do let out. But they're going to follow the flood plan and hope to top it off by the end of the year. But here's the storms they're anticipating. Here it is in the near future. We've just had this storm leave the Northern California area. We've got another 1-2 sort of punch heading our direction. And these are atmospheric river sort of events, which means, well, it means it can be a lot of rain to some people, and to other people it may be very little rain. These atmospheric rivers are like fire hoses, and they're very directional as to where they are aimed at, as to who's going to get the most rain out of these storms. So there's this 1-2 punch coming in this weekend, and then there's another one out here that's going to hit us. So we've got a good series of wet weather coming our way to help us with our precipitation, and hopefully get the precipitation at or above average. But we need more colder precipitation to increase the snowpack. Here's a 30-day look back at inflows into the Oroville Reservoir. Back about a month ago, just averaging only around 5,000 or so CFS. You get a good storm and it pops right up to 33,000 CFS, but then right back down to around 10,000 or so CFS. Remember, during peak atmospheric river events, this inflow can easily exceed 100,000 cubic feet per second into the Oroville Reservoir. And it's those sort of meteorological events that they've got to keep this flood control space open for, this extra 50 feet or so of elevation, until we get through this part of the season. And here's a 30-day plot of the releases from the Oroville Dam, which includes the spillway, the Hyatt Power Plant, and the river valve outlet system. That's that low-level outlet system. And it looks like they crank it up just a little bit to 5,000 or so to 7,000 CFS, and then shut it all the way down to 0. So I don't know if they're still doing work on the river valve outlet system or at Hyatt Power Plant, why they shut this thing down to 0 and then ramp it back up like this stair-step pattern. But here you can see the levels that they were achieving during that video that we just watched, up to about 17,000 CFS. And often when they run the spillway for the first time kind of hard at the beginning of the year, they'll shut it down and take a good look at the spillway itself and make sure everything's working okay and there's no damage to the spillway. Lessons learned from previous disasters. So we'll go through a couple of these pictures that Kellen took while I was flying the 310 back on the 1st of January, and just remind everybody where we're at, what we're looking at. This is the main spillway here at Oroville, with those spillway gates at an elevation of about 813 feet. Here's the top of the dam, the rock earth-filled dam. Here's the emergency spillway, which tops out at 901 feet, giving the reservoir its maximum elevation of 900 feet. Access road that gets buried by water. and some of the terracing and work that they're doing downstream of the spillway, since the entire spillway was rebuilt after the 2017 spillway disaster, where the spillway broke right about in here and put the Blanco Lirio channel on the map. And this is that very interesting roller compacted concrete stair-stepped pattern over the emergency spillway with a secant cutoff wall located right down here in an effort to minimize the amount of erosion if in the event they ever use this emergency spillway again. But then once it passes over this secant cutoff wall, the water is just poured out onto the bare dirt and down into this recently formed canyon from the last spill into the Thermalito diversion pool. This red line of floaties you see here is just an effort to catch any floating debris before it gets all hung up in the spillway gates. There's a closer view of the backside of the spillway gates. Here's a view looking to the west where you can see the rice fields downstream, where the rice fields are flooded and that water is reclaimed back into the Feather River and sent further on downstream. And that rice field water comes out of the Thermalito afterbay located down here. Here's a quick view of some of the devastating fire damage by the recent wildfires in and around Butte County. Over 1 million acres completely burned up, all the way from Oroville, all the way over to the Nevada desert, all the way up to Mount Lassen. And here you can see some evidence of reclaim logging. They can get in here, if they can get into here and get this timber out within a couple of years of it being burned, they can use some of this timber. But after a couple of years, the timber's too rotten to reclaim. Here's a flyby of the Feather Falls right down in there, just upstream from Oroville. And this whole area was once beautiful forest, but it's all burned up now. Here we're looking down at the Feather River Canyon, right about at the ignition point from the Paradise fire, where these power lines right down in here in that high wind event started the fire that took off and headed up this Flea Canyon, just picking up a whole head of steam, taking off over Concow and hopping the other fork of the Feather River and wiping out most of the town of Paradise. So that fire came up out of here, came out of this canyon, took off this way, took out the town of Concow, and then hopped the next fork of the Feather River over here and took out the town of Paradise, before finally getting stopped down here by the Sacramento Valley down by Chico. Here's a rough overview of Paradise today, where you can see that, I don't know, probably less than 10, 15, 20% of the population is returning to Paradise. And there's the canyon that the fire jumped before burning the town of Paradise. This twisty little road here gives you an idea of just how steep and rugged this terrain is coming out of the Feather River Canyon. And this burn scar that starts right along here continues all the way as far as the eye can see up there to Mount Lassen. This would have been the Dixie Fire, a fire well after the Paradise Fire. The Dixie Fire, of course, moved towards the northeast. There's a good shot of some of that reclaimed timber harvest. So as you can see, flying over the Sierras on the 1st of January, there was not a lot of snow in the Sierras, and it's only until these recent series of storms that we begin to actually accumulate some snow. This is the Bullard's Bar Reservoir closer to the Blanco Lirio Global Headquarters, and it looks like they're going to have no problem filling up this reservoir again this year. Here's a flyby of the Sierra Buttes in Sierra County. On the 1st of January, the high elevation smaller lakes are beginning to freeze up, but not a lot of snowpack at this time. Swinging around to the south, there's Lake Tahoe, and off to our left, to the east, the Sierra Valley, Nevada beyond. A better view of Lake Tahoe looking south, and over here is Palisades, formerly Squaw Valley Ski Resort, where they did have some avalanche activity earlier this season, one avalanche resulting in one fatality, several injuries. And here's a view of the face of Oroville Dam, the Hyatt power plant located over here with the turbines located down in here. And here's the penstock, the inlet to the turbines, temperature controlled gates. So that's the big picture of what's going on at Oroville right now. I hope we'll be able to fill this reservoir back up this year based on the amount of precip that's forecast to come in, plus the fact that we started with such a high level of water to begin with this year. So let's go out listening to the dulcet tones of the IO 470 engines on the Harvey the 310. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.
Okay, gear speed checks. Here comes gear. Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, turn left downwind 07, Nevada County. Gear is down, confirm.
Confirmed.
Props coming in.
Oroville just cleared the end of the runway.
Fixtures coming in. Landing checklist.
4 landing gumps.
Gas, undercarriage, confirm down, fixtures, and props. Check.
All right, fuel selector
Quarter
on
field
main.
in sight. They're on the mains.
Aux fuel pumps.
On low. Thank you.
Alternate air controls.
In.
Flap.
Set.
Nevada County, Terminal 228 Foxtrot Tango, Overfield 5,600. We're going to depart the area to the west, Nevada County.
Gears down.
All right. Up to 45, flaps up to 45, below 140. Mixtures, rich.
Rich.
Full forward. And 111 mile an hour.
Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, left base 07, Nevada County, full stop. Checklist complete.
Landing checklist complete.
Acknowledge, we will expand if needed for 25, watching 7, Nevada County.
Cool. Well, we got the pattern. Trim, trim, trim. Don't overshoot.
Flaps at 45.
No, 15.
Okay.
Blue line. Now I can come in with some more flaps. That's the way you do it.
Just like that.
Well, thanks for coming along today for the High Sierra and Oroville update report. We need more rain.
And snow.
And snow. Kellen wants to go skiing instead of rock skiing. Thank you for your support. See you here.